Good evening. Today is Wednesday, January the 20th. Today in geometry, we looked at a new section. We talked about rhombi, or rhombi is the plural for rhombus, and squares. And a rhombus is a parallelogram that has four equal sides. So I will go to share the screen and show you the types of problems we looked at with this. All right, so if we're looking at a parallelogram that has equal sides, so like we have something like this, and then we have something like this. Okay, and then we come down here, we have something like this. And we have something like this. Okay, now let's say this is, we look, this will be A, and this will be B, and this will be C, and this will be D. Now, if you look at this, see, okay, if we draw our diagonals, now remember, this is a parallelogram, so opposite sides are still parallel, and opposite sides are congruent. In this case, all sides are congruent. So if I look, say I can mark this, and I can mark this, and I can mark this, and I can mark this, right? Now, if we look at the properties of a rhombus, okay, here I'll write this out here so you can see, R-H-O-M-B-U-S, okay? A rhombus is a parallelogram with four congruent sides. So if we look, you still remember it's a parallelogram, so the diagonals bisect each other. So if I have this diagonal equal to this diagonal, and then of course I have this part here equal to this part here. Now, but if we look at, let's say right here in the middle, this is going to be E. Okay, now if I look at the top half of this rhombus, we talk about the properties that a rhombus has. Say if I look, see I have triangle AEB here. So let's do triangle, I'll just call it triangle AEB, and triangle CEB, right? What I've got here, see, I've got sides equal, I've got sides equal, and I've got sides equal. So I can say that these two triangles are congruent, and they're congruent by side, 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 right? So they're congruent by side, side, side. Now, that means if I have angle 1 here and angle 2 here, since these two triangles are congruent, that means angle 1, the measure of angle 1 equals the measure of angle 2. They're congruent, right? Equals the measure of angle 2. Now, and since these two these two angles form a linear pair, they add to 180. So if they add to 180 and they're equal, each one of these is 90. So what we have here, the diagonals of a rhombus are perpendicular. So I can draw my squares around there. Now here's the other thing. If you'll notice, see, if I make this angle 3 and this angle 4, say when I have this congruency up here, I know the measure of angle 3 equals the measure of angle 4. So what I have here is that the diagonals bisect the opposite angles. So angle 3 and angle 4, therefore, are equal. The angles are congruent, their measures are equal. So the two new properties that we have for rhombuses, rhombi, okay, the diagonals are perpendicular and diagonals bisect opposite angles. Okay, so there's the new properties in addition to the properties that exist for parallelograms. Okay, now, so we could sit up here and we could say, okay, if I come in here with a problem like this, if I can tell you that BC is x plus 9 here, so this is x plus 9, and CD down here is 5x minus 2, and I want to solve for x, and I can do this better with text, so I'll come down here and show you, see, because all of the sides of a rhombus are congruent, I can say that x plus 9 equals 5x minus 2, and if I take the x across, I have 11 equals 4x, and that will give me x equals 11 divided by 4. Okay, so this is a type of problem that we can run into when we're looking at a rhombus or when we're looking at rhombi, rhombi being the plural. Okay, now, so take a few minutes and look at this. And then what I'll do is I will erase this and we'll go back to the second part of the class today, which talks about a square. So pause it, look at this, and then we'll go and we'll erase. So I just erase. I can get the eraser here. So I can erase. Now, so like I said, so the next thing we're looking for is a square. Now, a square has 4 congruent sides and 4 right angles. So if you look, because you remember yesterday we looked at when we looked at rectangles, a rectangle has four right angles. A rhombus has 4 congruent sides, so a square is a special kind or a special type of rhombus and rectangle. It has the properties of both. 4 right angles, the opposite sides are congruent and so forth, okay? So now if you look and you see when you have a square, then you can just draw that, and what you're looking at is basically the same type of problem, see? So you have a square here. It looks like this. Make this roughly a square. Okay, you come down like this, out here, and we come across. So if you'll notice now, so with a square, since a square is a rhombus, then if we draw our diagonals down here, see, the diagonals will be, the diagonals will bisect these angles. So that's a 90-degree angle, which means each one of these is 45. And also the angles here in the middle will also be right angles because, once again, see, this is a special form of a rhombus, and the diagonals of a rhombus are perpendicular. Okay, so we looked at rhombuses and we looked at squares. So look at your homework If you have any questions about how you do your homework, send me an email. Tomorrow, if you look at our schedule, we will look at trapezoids and kites. And then on Friday, we'll be looking at some geometry plain and simple, which what you need to do is you need to start looking. I will send you the work that you need to do for the test for chapter 6, and you can start working on that. So any questions, send me an email and I'll get back to you. And always keep me posted on how you're doing if you have questions, or just let me know, hey, everything's going okay, so I'll know that you are still with me. And I will see you again tomorrow evening.